VCSN, Vanjik Call Sign Network Online. Starting video log entry.
When it comes to what we do here, let's face it, the whole nature of it all revolves around one simple concept. What if a certain game series, movie series, book series, what if a certain franchise, what if a certain historical event, what if certain object existed in? You get the point. We take something pre-existing, we shove it into my lovely home of Lancaster City, we see how crazy it gets, and then we put in the lovely self-insert to wrap up the story and to end the chaos that the what if caused to begin with in the first place. Very simple formula, not all that crazy when you get down to it. And overall, there's really nothing wrong with it when you get down to it. It's always wonderful to take this idea of something, put it somewhere else, see how population, geography, the political aspects of things, depending on what the subject matter is, or even how advanced the culture is, yada yada. Seeing how all these different things affect the core idea of what the original story was, see how the two intermingle. I love doing it. It's fun. It makes me less bored with my life because, well, there's only so many things you can do in between work and your normal obligations around the house, and then you gotta find ways to fill the time in the void. And I guess for me it's writing weird what ifs. But with that being said, there are certain franchises that I do not ever really plan on touching, simply because, well, ironically enough, in some cases it would dilute both stories, in other cases it would be, well, in poor taste. At least in my opinion, in poor taste. Like, there are several franchises out there where, even by my standards, we delve into some pretty messed up ideas, especially on the more, well, almost everything is horror on this channel, but especially on the more so heavily focused horror stories we do get into some graphic ideas, some obscene things, but from some of these franchises, man, there are just some core things behind either the creators or in the source material themselves that, yeah, we're never gonna be able to touch these stories. So, here is a short, not exactly a 1 through 10, here's just a handful of stories that I'll probably never touch for various reasons. So let's get into all of this, shall we? Number 1 is going to be Jeepers Creepers. And not because I don't enjoy the concept of an immortal monster that comes back and back and back, and every time you think you've killed it, another 23 years goes by, and oh boy, here's that bastard again. It's not a bad idea, it's not a bad concept, and in fact, I would say I actually do enjoy the first Jeepers Creepers movie. It is quite terrifying, especially on the first viewing. What do you want me to say? But with that being said, we all know the elephant in the room. Yeah, yeah. But to try to put this school appropriate here, metaphorically speaking, this man was an offender in the, sexual sense. Yeah, so obvious reasons, the man who created this whole piece of work, I can have your movie on in the background. I can have your movie on when friends are around. We're mostly gonna focus on the monster anyway and not really think about you, but, you're not gonna be on my channel at all. Seriously, no, no what if Jeepers Creepers happened in Lancaster City. I'm sorry, but I feel like I gotta draw a line somewhere, especially considering where I work at real life. Yeah, no, not with a 10-foot barge pole. Not with a 10-foot barge pole. And then there is Stephen King, who is gonna be any of his work is unfortunately never going to be shown here on the channel either, in forms of a what if it happened, you know, even though I would actually love to do that one. Pennywise is honestly one of my more so favorite horror characters, in the sense of, man, that guy is a jokester. He is horrifying, he is funny, and scary all at the same time. Horrifying and scary are the same things. Way to use synonyms. Man, that can get you tongue-tied really fast. You get what I'm saying here, though. But unfortunately, especially in it, at least if we're going off of the books, which is what I would be going off of, yeah, there's a lot of material in there that would not coincide well with what we do here. And I wanted to get the two big obvious ones out of the way. You could probably figure that I was never going to do anything from Stephen King. And it's mostly just simply because his books are too damn good already, too. That's something else to consider. This man's work doesn't need anyone else touching upon it, throwing in their own what ifs, this, that, and the third. Mostly because he usually explores any and all outcomes anyway. Like, throughout all of his stories, it's actually kind of genius. They have them pursuing all the side possibilities alongside the main possibility, at least in a majority of his books. And you usually get your answer on what if this, that, or at least the obvious what ifs, not my type of what ifs. You know, his works are usually well thought out to begin with anyway, and considering how some of the endings, especially in It, go, it's not gonna be here. I know we focus on horror, we focus on the grotesque, but I want to keep my conscience clean to a degree here, so, I don't know, shoot me. So, here's the unfortunate thing, I'm probably never gonna touch kaiju stories either. And this one hurts me the most. Because as anyone knows, King Ghidorah is one of my favorite fucking monsters ever. Well, he's technically an alien, but he looks like a monster, so we'll roll with it. Like, King Ghidorah is one of my favorite kaijus. Sorry, Godzilla, I love you. I don't know if you can see it. I think it's hidden by my jacket, but I have his figure on my shelf, a little tiny figure of Godzilla on my shelf. I love Godzilla too, but and there's also Rodan, Mothra, and that's just going with what we consider mainline kaiju. There are smaller B horror movies that are much smaller scale. The classic monster movies featuring kaijus and monsters. That phone alarm going off because it's reminding me to wake up. There are so many good kaiju anything. Like, seriously, good kaiju comic books, anime adaptations, movies. I have a whole world of options to go with when it involves kaijus, so why don't I do kaijus? Well, it's hard to do a what if certain thing happened in my home city if the home city gets destroyed in a minute in the story. I know I could get creative and be like, oh, this stops the monster before destroying the city the first time it shows up, but that would ruin the whole effect of having the monster show up for the first time. So that things like that make it hard. Things like that would legitimately make it hard because it ruins the what if, and I would have to do a normal kaiju story, and it would just have to go all across Timbuktu outside of the home county and city, which is against the point. So kaiju stories are a no-go, even though I would love to write one with King Ghidorah. I don't know, we might break one day and have a King Ghidorah story, but I don't think we ever will. We might break one day. Mostly because of how much I love the kaiju, but I genuinely don't think I'll ever be able to do one of those, because while the horror aspect is there, the longevity of the story aspect is just not. It's just simply not. This one is gonna be another collective, and this will be mostly anything made by another YouTuber. You know, there are lots of YouTubers who have made, well, fellow YouTubers, I should be saying, who have made really good horror stories. Whether we're talking VHS, whether we're talking found footage, whether we're talking AUs, alternate universes like we do here. People have made a lot of good stories. Local 58 being one of them. You know that was a thing for a time. And then can we ever forget Baddington or Squimpus McGriffiths with what they did with their individual FNAF VHS tapes? That was another good one. The Mandela Catalogs, I believe it was called. I never really watched it. It's another good one that a lot of people like. I've seen little snippets of it, but I've never watched the full series, so could have gotten the name wrong. It's called the Mandela something, but that's another good one. There are also, ironically enough, lots of good Godzilla VHS ones. We just talked about Godzilla and Kaijus earlier. There are lots of good, smaller, well, not smaller, well, at least when you compare them to the bigger guys who are in the millions to hundreds of thousands. But, yeah, so anything below that, you know, smaller, I'm the smallest. But, you know, they've made a lot of good stuff, so why wouldn't I want to do that? It would definitely be interesting. Like, for example, the Monument Mythos. What if the Monument Mythos happened in the city and all of the buildings were actually these living creatures made for a different purpose? Like, yeah, it could work. Here's the thing, though. I don't want to step on the toes of somebody who's not even that much bigger in the first place compared to me. Like, we're all on the same small, low-end web... Well, the website's not small. You get what I mean. When you compare a website to the planet, it's small. We're in a drop compared to the damn ocean here. But that's my point exactly. I don't want to take more of the drop away from anyone else. I feel like a lot of these stories are great by themselves. They don't need me ruining it with my writing style. Like, I don't think I'd ruin it, but besides the point here, I don't want to take it away, you know? For example, say I did do something crazy like that, you know? What would happen if my side story, loosely inspired by Monument Mythos, becomes bigger than it? Not that it ever would. I'm speaking in pure hypotheticals that would never happen here. But if somehow, if by the 0.1% chance it did, I'd be uncomfortable with the fact, you know? I make all these with the knowledge of these will never be bigger or take away from the amount of people who want to consume these franchises and media. And when it's another smaller guy out there like me, it doesn't feel right to do it, obviously. It's one thing saying, what if Fallout started on the East Coast? It's another thing saying, what if Monument Mythos happened in my backyard? I don't know why I keep using Monuments as a example here, but I guess that's just the one series that sticks out to me the most. Sorry. But, yeah, so anything from a smaller creator, it's probably never going to show up here. In fact, I'm probably going to have to say officially as a rule it won't show up here. Maybe you'll see an end reference too. I do references to other creators hidden throughout the works. If you can find them, good luck. They're not exactly obvious all the time, but I do put them in there. So maybe we can, you know, compromise, put in references to these different stories that exist on YouTube that I do like, and compromise in that regard. Like, say, in a story, we have a short 3-minute section or segment where tree comes to life, or building comes to life, or oh my god, is that something from the Mandela world? Like, we could do that. We could do that, but I don't know if we ever will. And I'm honestly probably embarrassing myself by trying to reference a series I haven't watched, but is really popular, and I've heard about it so many times, it feels like I've watched it 25 times without knowing any details to it, but besides the point. And then we come to the reason why I made this video in the first place, because I was heavily considering it. I really was heavily considering it. And the reason why I was heavily considering it is because this man's work is a fever dream like no other. And if you've been on the channel, you know we practically work off of fever dreams. Junji Ito's work is fucking fantastic. This man's mind when it comes to horror and making you feel like you're in the biggest entropy loop of your life, it's fucking fantastic. This man, when you hand him a pen and a simple idea, he can do wonders with it. And that's also the thing. He does wonders with it. It's work I would consider perfect. And more specifically, I am talking about his series Uzumaki when I am saying all of this. And when you get down to the basic two ideas, it makes sense. Have the entropy horror loop of Uzumaki, the spiral, you're never escaping your fate. Throw it in the home city, you know. Have the self-insert character go through all the events. At the end, have him gain the strength, the power, whatever we multiversal bullshit we need to do. He goes in, bam, 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 shoots up the god, wins the day, everyone's alive. It's like the events of Dragonfly Lake never happened. That's also the problem, though. That's also the problem, though. Because, yes, it would work. It totally would work. Are you kidding me? That story practically screams for a hero to come in and save the day. But that's also the point of the story. There's not going to be a hero to come in and save the day. That's very much the point of the story. And god damn it, I can't ruin that. I can't ruin that. Even if it was for a what if that maybe 100 people at most would see. Maybe if it is for a what if on a small YouTube channel of 2,000 people or so. I'm not gonna be the guy to do that. I can't. Even though I desperately want to. Let me tell you, the world of Uzumaki, as I have been learning about it over the past year, because I recently discovered it. Now, I know it's a much older series, but, you know, I'm slow to adapt. I don't learn about things right away. So when I do learn about older things that are really interesting, my brain goes on a binge and I learn everything about it. If you haven't consumed Uzumaki in any way, I highly recommend you do it. If you love horror of anything, this will get your gears going because it has horror in every sense of the word. I can't do it justice by describing it. Go consume Uzumaki. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's genuinely wonderful. And it pains me though, because the whole moral of the story is this entropy loop. You can't escape fate. And then here's the problem with my series and my stories. Everything here is built off the concept of giving fate the lovely middle finger. You know, it's meant to be like, hey, you know, that's what we do here. We usually end up in our stories telling fate to go f*** itself. We tell it to go away. Oh, you want to try and kill off the city? Here's a knife for you, buddy, right in the back. Like, that's what we do here. So, no matter what type of game I were to play, metaphorically speaking, with the story, even if I played it out in the long term, didn't have the hero come in till literally the very, very end, when there's maybe only 2 or 3 people alive and they're staring at the spiral god about to be consumed by the spiral, you know, by the spiral people, I should be calling them. You know, the people that basically form, twist, and meld together. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Spoilers, sorry. Yeah. I mean, that's not that much of a spoiler. You see something like that within, like, the first few minutes of the series, actually. But that's besides the point. Yeah, considering what I do here completely breaks the moral of the story over in Uzumaki, even though I feel like crying for not doing that what if. we can never do it. This is the one time where I'm gonna have to put my fist down on the table, so to speak, and say we're gonna claim its respect that's stopping me, which it is, but the other side's almost winning. Not really. It's not really winning. But this has been a short little bit of things I will probably never touch with Tales of the Red Rose, with the What If series. Probably never feature on the channel. Like I said, we'll probably do references to certain things, but we're never gonna have them here, especially Jeepers Creepers. You're not even gonna ever get a reference to Jeepers Creepers outside of me talking about it for this little video I did. But that being said, I'm actually curious if anyone has managed to watch this video all the way through. What would you want me to cover with the What If series? Because we're not really all that restrictive when you get down to it. Like, I listed like, what, 5 things we'll never touch here on the channel. So that leaves everything else on the table. So if there's a certain thing you want to see, a certain thing you want me to do, don't be afraid to say it. You know, I actually love getting new ideas. Or if you guys want to see more original stories, we do original stories every once in a while. We don't always do what if certain thing happened here or there or the third. Sometimes we do original stories too. Sometimes we do found footage films made out of stock footage, found footage. Yeah, that whole thing. You can go find in the playlist tab. But anyway, I have been Johnny Von Duke. This has been a video and a half, video and a quarter, video and 3/4, 3/4 and 4/4 ago. I fucked myself in the ass. Anyway, I have been Johnny Von Duke, and you have been watching me suffer for all of eternity. Have a good day, filthy animals. Bye.